Either President Biden and his team believe in open borders, or the people that the president has put in charge of the immigration policy for this country are not qualified to manage a food truck. And nobody's that incompetent. You folks believe in open borders, don't you?
Sir, I think we believe in secure borders.
You believe in you don't even know how, well, I'm going to take 30 more seconds. You don't even know how many people have come in illegally since President Biden has been president. You're a former senior advisor to the Vice President of the United States, Mr. Salazar. And you can't even give me a number?
No, sir.
That's like going to an oncologist and asking him, what's cancer? And he says, I don't know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morant, since President Biden's been president, how many non-American citizens have come into our country illegally or on the basis of a claim of asylum?
Thank you, Senator. HSI is an investigative agency.
Do you know the number?
No, Senator.
You're a senior member of Homeland Security, are you not?
That's correct.
Does anybody know the number? None of you know the number. Try 8 million. Now, of that 8 million, how many were children, Mr. Morant?
I don't have that number.
You don't know. Does anybody know? None of you know. Isn't that special? Let's assume half. Okay, 8 million is 4 Nebraskas, right? 4 new states. Let's assume, I don't think it's as high, half of them are children. How many of those 8 million people are still here? Do any of you know? Okay. How many of those 8 million are claiming asylum? You don't know? How many of them claim asylum and don't show up for their hearing? Nobody knows. How many of them claim asylum, don't show up for the hearing, and President Biden has deported them? You don't know? How many of them have claimed asylum, shown up for their asylum hearing, and been denied asylum and been deported? You don't know. How many of them were from Mexico? You don't know. How about 30%? That means 70% were not, right? Surely you know the answer to that. 30% minus 100% is 70%. Am I right? Okay, 30% came from Mexico. Why don't you implement a safe third country policy that says under asylum, under our asylum rules, you have to seek asylum in the first safe country. So if you come, say, from Venezuela or Nicaragua or another Central American country, you have to seek asylum in the first safe country. Why don't you do that? And then that would eliminate 70% of the 8 million. That's 5.6 million. Why don't you do that, Mr. Morant?
Is that a question, sir?
Yes. All I've been asking are questions.
That's beyond the purview of HSI.
Oh, okay. How about you, Mr. Salazar? You're a former advisor to the vice president. How come we don't do a safe third country agreement?
Sir, we're working with our partners in the region. 21 countries signed on to the Los Angeles Declaration.
Have you done a safe third country agreement? You've had, what have you been at it, 2 years?
What we are doing is working with them to expand legal pathways.
Why doesn't President Biden get up in the morning tomorrow and say, we're changing the asylum process and we're doing what most other countries do, safe third country policy. You have to seek asylum. We support asylum. We have to seek asylum in the first safe country. That would eliminate 5.6 million people, boom, done, coming into our country illegally, wouldn't it?
Sir, I just want to point out Washington.
Wouldn't it?
It would, sir, but there are activities underway.
Let me ask you this, because I'm going to run out of time. President Biden and all of you believe in open borders, don't you? Don't you? I mean, I ask really basic questions. I don't mean any disrespect. I appreciate you being here. And I know you all love our country, as we all do. But I believe in straight answers. I like straight answers and breakfast food. And there are only 2 possibilities here. Either President Biden and his team believe in open borders, or the people that the president has put in charge of the immigration policy for this country are not qualified to manage a food truck. And nobody's that incompetent. You folks believe in open borders, don't you?
Sir, I think we believe in secure borders.
You believe in then you don't even know how, well, I'm going to take 30 more seconds. You don't even know how many people have come in illegally since President Biden has been president. You're a former senior advisor to the Vice President of the United States, Mr. Salazar. And you can't even give me a number?
No, sir.
That's like going to an oncologist and asking him, what's cancer? And he says, I don't know. Give me a break.
Senator Welch?
Thank you. I thank the witnesses. Just speaking to my friend Senator Kennedy,
And that moment right there, when Senator John Kennedy said to a DHS official live in a Senate hearing, "You're a senior member of Homeland Security, are you not?" and then used that single sentence like a blade to set up the collapse moment of authority. That was not governance. That was narrative warfare being deployed from inside the institution itself. Because what Kennedy did in that moment was not just try to extract information. It was not even about border policy. It was about creating the cinematic impression that experts are clueless, that government is incompetent, that nothing is real except the anger he narrates. He did not care if they knew the exact number. He needed them not to know the number, so he could turn their non-answer into evidence that the entire premise of government expertise is a farce. He was building a frame that sovereignty is being intentionally surrendered, and he was doing it through dramatic moral contempt, because that is the most powerful fuel in modern American propaganda. This wasn't oversight. This was epistemic demolition. This was the Senate attempting to delegitimize the executive right in front of the camera. He took a complex set of numbers, asylum processed, apprehensions, parole pathways, Title 42 era expulsions, docket backlog, removal pipeline, court backlog, countries of origin, and he collapsed all of it into one artificially simple number. One artificially simple binary, one artificially simple moral conclusion. If you cannot immediately recite the data point to him, in the moment, off the top of your head, you are either incompetent or you support open borders. That is not inquiry. That is coercive false choice. That is how the modern right now manufactures the appearance of state collapse, even when the factual architecture beneath it is complicated, distributed, multi-layered, and measured differently across agencies. He does it by stripping complexity of legitimacy. He does it by making knowledge itself suspicious. He does it by turning nuance into an indictment. He does it by taking fear, fentanyl, migration, national identity, and feeding it directly into the bloodstream of the audience watching at home, with the performance certainty that all of this is intentional betrayal. This is why this clip matters historically, because this is how democracy destabilizes from the inside, not by tanks, not by coups, but through sustained theatrical, reputational assassination of government capacity itself. If you convince the public that the state cannot govern, that experts cannot be trusted, that information is unknowable, then the public becomes open to rule by force rather than rule by institution. They become open to the strongman solution. That's the deeper story here. Kennedy was not trying to win a policy debate. He was trying to persuade the American people that the executive branch no longer deserves the right to govern. And he did it with jokes, with contempt disguised as plain-spoken authenticity, with breakfast food, folksy rhetoric to hide the structural consequences of what he was actually doing. He was making the case that knowledge itself is elite decadence, that precision is cowardice, that expertise is disloyal, and if that frame is accepted, democracy becomes impossible, because democracy requires the belief that facts can be known, that policy can be measured, that government can be evaluated in good faith. Kennedy's tactic destroys that foundational trust. This clip is a warning flare. This is the moment where a sitting United States senator weaponized intentional ignorance as proof of corruption. This is how the authoritarian culture of anti-institutional politics metastasizes inside oversight hearings. If we let this become the standard, if this becomes the normal framing, we will lose the intellectual infrastructure democracy needs to survive. We cannot. We cannot surrender epistemology to performance outrage. We cannot let lies framed as common sense become the new legislative grammar. We cannot let contempt replace inquiry. We cannot let this clip be normal. Because if America loses the ability to tell the difference between genuine complex policy and manufactured simple scapegoat, then America will not just lose the border fight, it will lose democracy itself. This is Liberal Line. Support our work. Subscribe.